Hello students, very good morning. So today in this module, we will be discussing the urban ecology. In this lecture, we will be discussing the evolving definitions of the urban ecology, because with time, as the changes has happened into the maturity in understanding this particular subject area, its definitions are also evolving accordingly. Then we will be discussing the core conceptual frameworks. We will be bringing only two major conceptual frameworks. One is the four frameworks of ecology, and the second one is the socio-ecological system framework. And we will also discuss, followed by that, is the cities as complex adaptive systems, and where we will be discussing urban ecological patterns and processes, and we will be concluding it with a case study. Not one, two. Urban ecology. Urban ecology is the interdisciplinary study of the city as a complex integrated socio-ecological system. So as I was discussing the ecology, the evolving definitions, we will start from the 1920s, where the Chicago School was proposing that ecology as a metaphor to explain the human social dynamics in the industrial cities. So the concepts of competition, assimilation, they came into the discussion. It was primarily an ecology of urban life that was focusing entirely on the social order, not the biophysical environment. Whereas the modern shift is towards the biophysical science. This is a shift where the concept of urban ecology is moving from metaphor to the study of the complex interplay between human activities, the built environment, and the natural processes. So, the previously it was the social order. Now we are going for the biophysical, where human activities, built environment, and the natural processes, each one are having their own significance, and they are creating sustainable and livable city. So as I told you at the initial stage of today's lecture, that we'll be discussing two core conceptual frameworks. The first one is the four frameworks of ecology, and the second one is social ecological system frameworks. The second one, I think you remember, we have already discussed, but we will bring it back today and we will try to see how it is actually complementing the four frameworks of ecology. And we will also bring back already discussed the landscape ecology, complex adaptive systems, and the human ecology feedback loop as and when it is required. So the first thing first is the four frameworks of ecology. Let us see urban ecology, how we can look at it through the frameworks. The first framework talks about ecology in cities. This framework is descriptive, asking classic ecological questions about ecological patterns and processes within the urban boundary. So these are the very basic foundational framework, and it is primarily the geography and the ecosystem. Framework 2 talks about ecology of cities. So the city itself is the primary unit of study. Not that we are only looking at the ecology within the city. So the city is the primary unit of the study, and it is viewed as a single integrated socio-ecological system. The next framework, more advanced one, is for the ecology for cities. This is a transformative model that merges urban design and ecology. So the 1 and 2 is more from the observation side, whereas number 3 is talking about application. Merges the urban design and ecology. It seeks to use ecological knowledge to advance climate change resilience and urban sustainability. So it's the design, planning, those parts. And the fourth framework talks about ecology with cities. This framework moves beyond expert-led design to one characterized by co-productive, engaged, and reciprocal interactions. So the stakeholders, all community is also there. That's the fourth one, most advanced one. Now let us go for the four frameworks one by one. Very quickly, the framework one, Ecology in Cities. As I told you, this is the earliest framing and corresponds to the natural history tradition. It is descriptive, asking classic ecological questions about ecological patterns and processes within the urban boundary. The guiding question for the framework one is what organisms, species, and habitat patches exist in the city and how do they function or survive? The examples are studies of birds in a park, plant succession on ruins, or the distribution of urban foxes. These are the good examples under the framework 1. Framework 2, Ecology of Cities. This is more holistic, interdisciplinary approach that defines the system view. The city itself is the primary unit of study, viewed as a single integrated socio-ecological system. This framework explicitly acknowledges Homo sapiens as the dominant species and integrates biophysical components with social and cultural ones. The guiding question for the framework 2 is how does the city function as a single integrated socio-ecological system? Long-term ecological research studies, urban metabolism analysis, and studies of city-wide nutrient cycles can be very good example for this framework too, Ecology of Cities. Landscape ecology, which we have discussed earlier, let us see its influence in this framework too. The patch corridor matrix model, which you remember, I believe, this provided the spatial language to analyze the ecology of the city. It allowed us to view a map of a city and not just a binary of city versus nature together. A city could be seen as a complex, fragmented mosaic and can be quantitatively analyzed. So, the patches, remnant habitats, corridors, linear elements, matrix, the inhospitable built environments that surrounds the patches and influences movement and age effects. So these are the landscape ecology part which can be easily plugged in into ecology of the city. Now we will come for the framework 3, Ecology for Cities, which represents the most significant practical leap moving ecology from an observational science to design science. It is a normative, solution oriented, and hands on approach. This is a transformative model that merges urban design and ecology. It seeks to use ecological knowledge to advance climate change resilience and urban sustainability. It is explicitly transdisciplinary, requiring partnerships with city practitioners. So, that is the framework 3. And the guiding question, how can we use ecological knowledge to design and build better, more sustainable and resilient cities? A very strong question which can be guided by this framework 3. Examples, let us see, using these ecological principles to design green infrastructure, informing planning policy, and developing nature based solutions. Now we are coming for the last framework. Last framework, that is the ecology with cities. This is the most recently evolved concept which introduces a critical ethical and relational dimension. It arose from a critique of the ecology for cities, which is the framework 3. That model, because as potentially that is potentially too technocratic or top down, ecology for cities. So, as a reaction to that, this framework 4 came, which is ecology with cities. And it moves beyond the expert led design to enhance characterized participatory solutions. It links the co-production knowledge where scientists and the public collaborate to create knowledge with the co-production of place where they work together to build the city. Guiding question for the framework 4 is how can we co-create a more just, relational and sustainable urban future with human communities and with other than human species. So this is also having that equity aspect into it. Participatory action research, community based environmental stewardships, they are good examples of framework 4, ecology with cities. Now we would like to see these four frameworks once again together. Ecology in cities, that is studying the ecological patterns and processes within the urban fabric. Ecology of cities, the framework 2, treating the intercity as an ecosystem, integrating biophysical and the human systems together. Framework 3, ecology for cities, using ecological knowledge to design solutions for cities. And the framework 4, ecology with cities, is co-producing knowledge and action through participatory, inclusive governance. So now we will go beyond ecology, we will bring back the social ecological system framework, which we have discussed in last module as well in details. The core concept, probably we remember it, we have not forgotten that cities are not just ecosystems. They are fully integrated, coupled social ecological systems. This is a system where human social components like culture, economics, governance, and ecological components, biodiversity, climate, hydrology, they are inextricably linked by the human activities. In an SES framework, humans are not external force. They are a keystone species, system engineers, and internal components. So, the goal of ACS framework is to study the recursive relations and feedbacks between the human decisions and the ecological processes. And if we have to understand this ACS framework, best thing we can do, that is we can understand it through the lens of complexity theory. The complex numerous components, individuals, species, institutions, interact in non-linear ways. Adaptive because the system and its components like people, forms, organisms learn, change and evolve in response to the feedbacks. System, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's a very, very strong concept. So properties are emerging. So we have to take note of these urban areas as a system. Emergent properties like behaviors that cannot be predicted by studying the individual paths in isolation, like traffic jams. You don't know. The root cause can be several kilometers away from that particular spot. Gentrification, human wildlife conflict, novel ecosystems, they are very good example of this examples to understand these emergent properties. Human ecology feedback loop, the core mechanism of the urban SES is a set of feedback loops between the human behavior and ecological outcomes. You can see that in this image as well. The waste is coming out, the inputs are going there. Please go through this particular very strong flowchart. The actions, human decisions, then like policy, design, lifestyle, that is changing, bringing the alternation. And that is driving the changes of the biophysical environment, land cover, resource flows, etc. These alterations are bringing the outcome, new ecological patterns, processes like biodiversity, microclimate changes, things are happening. Now, this is going as a feedback as well. Ecological changes impact human well being, perception, and health, leading to a new decision. So, again, a new decision will come, the human actions will be different. So, that's the way this feedback loop continuously works. And it is not always a positive feedback, sometimes negative feedbacks also takes control of the system. Let us see a positive feedback loop. Fear of crime in a park is a park scenario. So residents are taking a decision that they will not be using the park. So reduced eyes on the street, the social feedback. Park maintenance is declining. So it's a municipal feedback. Park becomes less safe, socio-ecological feedback, and that reinforces fear of crime. So, though it is negative from the social perspective, but that fear of crime, if that is the particular phenomena which we are trying to understand, then we can see for that particular phenomena, this is a positive feedback. What is a negative feedback? We take a heat wave, ecological driver. High human mortality, feedback. New policy has been taken, human action. We are planting the street trees, ecological alteration. So UHI is now mitigated. So now reduced mortality in next heat wave. So feedback loop is now stabilized. So if heat wave is the phenomena which we are trying to look at, we could see it's actually getting diminished. Its impact is getting diminished. So that way it's a negative feedback. Though socially it's a good actions. So I believe you could understand the difference between the human actions and the meaning of positive feedback and the negative feedback. Now we will be looking at both the four ecology frameworks and the social ecological system framework together. The first one is the ecology in cities. What ACS is doing, its ecological subsystem inputs provides fine-scale data on species, flows, microclimates and environmental conditions that feed into the resource systems and ecological process components of ACS. So ecology in cities are actually having compatibility of the ACS ecological subsystem inputs. Similarly, we can see the framework 2 ecology of cities are having the compatibility with ACS integrated system view, which directly mirrors ACS thinking by conceptualizing the city as a coupled, adaptive, and co evolving system with feedbacks between society, infra, and environment. Framework 3 has the compatibility with ACS interventions and governance levers. It aligns with the ACS components like governance systems, actors, action situations, and provides pathways for intervention, design, and policy resilience. Similarly, Framework 4, Ecology with Cities have the compatibility with ACS, co-production, learning and adaptation. And it fully overlaps with ACS, emphasizing on participatory decision making, adaptive governance, multi-actor engagements and learning loops. So even if they are having two different way of looking at it, these frameworks and the social ecological systems, and they came from the two different schools of thoughts as well, but we can see a very good compatibility between these two frameworks. There is a modern interpretation of these four frameworks of ecology. It's always evolving like its definition. And what it has identified now, analytical vantage points for how to do a study on a city. Like framework 1, ecology in cities, we are now having observational paradigms. Ecology of cities system approaches like SCS, urban metabolism, and panarchy and adaptive cycles, which we have discussed earlier. Similarly, framework 3, that is ecology for cities, provides us an opportunity to link urban political ecology. You remember we discussed it? This brings the political clarity that solutions are never neutral. Any decisions have been taken for design implementation, it has a decision which is not neutral. Designing interventions that acknowledge inequality, power dynamics, and justice. So that's the way this is a new interpretation of the ecology for cities. Ecology with cities, it's a pluriversal ecologies. Like we have seen the universal, now no more we are talking about universal. We are saying that multiple worlds shall be visible. That has to be recognized. Values, cosmologies, and non-Western way of knowing. That's the resilience theory as well. So that is coming with the ecology with cities. where the participation of people, and the people are always different when the contexts are different. So that is getting acknowledged. So now we'll be discussing the next part of today's lecture, that is cities as complex adaptive system. We'll be discussing actually urban ecological patterns and processes under this. First idea we'll be discussing here is the urban stressors as the selection pressures. The shift from viewing the urban factors as disturbances like negative, resettling, we are now going towards a different approach. That is, we are looking at them as a novel selection pressure, directional evolutionary. Like UHI, it is altering several things, and what different things it can bring: pollution, chemical and physical, habitat fragmentation and alteration, shaded landscapes, novel soil profiles, and the introduction of structured soil. Altered trophic structures, disrupted predator-prey dynamics, novel food sources, dominance of generalists. So we are not trying to look at them only as disturbances, we are also trying to look at the novel selection pressure from them. Phenological mismatches, urbanization altering the timing of life events like flowering, breeding, migration. So we are accepting them and we are looking at them. The emergent properties of urban ACS, that is the new ecology, that urbanization doesn't just destroy nature, it creates new types of nature. So, synanthropic species, we have discussed the synanthropic species earlier also, which are very prevalent in the urban areas. And novel ecosystems, human shaped ecosystems that have potentially been irreversibly changed. They include built up areas, rooftops, vacant lots, abandoned industrial areas. These systems have passed an abiotic or biotic threshold, and meaning a return to historical baseline is no longer possible. These systems have passed an abiotic or biotic threshold, and that means that a return to historical baseline is no longer feasible. Let us see some good examples through plants first. That plants are rapidly and repeatedly evolving to urban selection pressures. UHI adaptation. There are certain plants which are going for this adaptation, like dandelion populations. They are showing genetic difference from the rural neighbors. They accumulate more biomass at high temperatures and require a shorter cold period to trigger flowering and matching the milder urban winters. This has also seen in other species like red leaf form. We can keep on continuing this discussion, like plants are rapidly and repeatedly evolving to urban selection pressure. First one we discussed for the heat. Now we'll be discussing for the pollution as a stress. Urban plants are evolving greater tolerance to heavy metals, salinity, and particulate matter. Some of the species show selection for dense leaf hairs, which capture PM as well as mitigate stomatal dysfunction. So, that type of adaptive evolution we can see in them. We will also bring another aspect of it, that is herbivory. The study have found that urban trifolium repens, that's the white clover, globally produces less hydrogen cyanide. And this hydrogen cyanide is a strategy as to keep the herbivores away from them. But as in urban areas, you have less that type of herbivores. So this range of hydrogen cyanide is also going down. So the benefit of the poison is lost, but the cost remains if that particular cyanide continues to be in the plants. So the selection pressure is removing it in the urban areas. So these are very wonderful, interesting examples to see how the plants are changing in the urban areas. Similarly, we will see the changes are also happening in fauna. Like behavioral adaptation song, we can see that acoustic adaptation hypothesis. Many urban birds like great tits, song sparrows, they are singing at a higher minimum frequency pitch to avoid being masked by low frequency traffic and industrial noise, so that they can be heard, because they have to communicate with their own flocks. Plasticity versus evolution. The song This song shift appears to be largely phenotypic plasticity, behavioral flexibility, or learning. When rural birds are brought to a common garden lab setting, they can modify their song, and urban birds may revert. So they're learning also. So that is called as phenotypic plasticity. That is a new learning. So it's not only evolution, it is also new learning. We will also discuss that challenges of it, the wildlife, resilience, coexistence, and conflict. Because this urban adaptation is a mixed, this result of urban adaptation is a mixed landscape of resilience for some and extreme challenges for some. Like fragmentation, for many species, the primary challenge is the habitat fragmentation, isolation, and mortality from human infrastructure, like the vehicle collisions, building strikes, or maybe the train is overrunning. So, that type of problems, conflicts are there. Human wildlife conflict, adaptation, co adaptation inevitably leads to increased interaction, which is often negative. This includes property damage, physical attacks, and disease transmission. We can also see the resilience and adaptation of some species that pass the filter, the urban adapters, and synanthropes often find cities to be largely beneficial. With fewer predators and abundant, reliable food subsidies like garbage feeders, their population often show high resilience, good performance, and increasing abundance. Whether it is good or bad, that is debatable, like pigeons, then stray dogs, stray cows, those are all under the discussion. Management, the new goal is not eradication but coexistence to a certain extent, definitely. Using tools like green corridors, adaptive management, and conflict mitigation. So, we can see that adaptation is happening, and this adaptation sometimes is also creating challenge for the urban managers. Now, let us quickly go through the case examples. The first one is from Phoenix, and we would like to look at one of their case, that is CAP long term ecological research, that is ecology of the city, that framework which we were discussing. And this Phoenix is in arid environment. One of the first two NSF funded urban long term ecological research was established in Phoenix 1997 in USA. The core mission was to study the relationship and feedback between human decisions and ecological processes. And you can see exactly that thing here: socio-cultural economic template and the biophysical template. The infra is here, and the continuous uh, interactions and the trade offs, the benefits, synergies. So, you can see with time how this urban ecosystem is evolving and transforming. So, that was the major core focus interest of this particular project. The integration of social and ecological science is the key innovation. The Phoenix Area Social Survey runs parallel to ecological surveys like bird counts, vegetation, water chemistry in the same neighborhood. So the people are also being asked questions about them, their changes, their biophysical environment. So this Phoenix Cap LT year, this particular study is an exemplar of the ecology of the city, ACS framework as well in an arid environment. Key research feedback we get from this particular study are linking the landscape reference like oasis versus desert yurts to water use, urban heat island, and biodiversity. We also learn that how human social status and governance create a legacy effect on soil biogeochemistry and ecosystem services. So, the students who are interested, please go through this particular case, because for the paucity of time, I have to make it as brief as possible, but you can really learn that how this urban ecology is evolving, and we can look at that SES framework as well as four frameworks of ecology in this particular case. Similarly, Delhi Reach case, a microcosm of urban ecological evolution, adaptation, and conflict in a fragmented relict ecosystem. A fragmented remnant of the ancient Aravalli range, acting as a critical green lung and watershed for Delhi. That's the Delhi Reach. This is a novel ecosystem. It's a new ecosystem actually. It's not a pristine one. It is a human modified landscape, heavily afforested, and now dominated by invasive flora and fauna. And these invasive species form dense cliques, altering species assemblages and excluding native congeners. So now from the specialist, we can see more generalist there. Species adaptation, synanthropes. The ridge is a living lab for urban adapters. Golden jackals show sophisticated adaptations, shifting their activity to be nocturnal to avoid humans and the feral dogs. Human wildlife conflict, the fragmented patches are hotspots for human wildlife conflict, particularly with the rhesus macaques, driven by habitat encroachment and the macaques' adaptation to human food sources. So, that is also another good example of this adaptation and new novel ecosystem. So, what are the key takeaways from this particular lecture or summary if we try to look at? That is, first thing we have tried to look at urban ecology, which has evolved from a social metaphor the Chicago school was propagating to a transdisciplinary biophysical science model. The field has shifted from describing nature, ecology in, to ecology of, to co-designing sustainable and resilient cities, that is ecology for, which further got advanced, that is ecology with. Cities are not just destroying nature, there are novel ecosystems that function as powerful drivers for rapid evolution. The goal of modern urban planning and ecology is to manage these complex social ecological systems for resilient justice and coexistence. So, that is the summary of this today's lecture. Let us go for the headings which we have discussed. We have discussed the definition. We have discussed the primarily four ecological frameworks and the SES framework, and within that we have discussed the landscape model, CAS, and the feedback loops. We have discussed the metabolism and resilience in between. Then it was followed by the urban ecological patterns and processes. And lastly, we have discussed two good case studies, one from Phoenix, one from Delhi. And I request you all to go through them once again, because we could not really elaborate the examples, and we have concluded this lecture with the summary. These are the references, and thank you.